The saga of Iron Mike Tyson will always be remembered as a brutal lesson in what happens when reckless men, blinded by ego or madness, choose to provoke a force of nature. Time after time, unstable challengers, loudmouth brutes, street-tough gangsters, and delusional hopefuls stepped into a ring or alley believing they could send Tyson to the afterlife, only to discover that they were the ones standing at the edge of oblivion. Behind the growls, the bravado, and the threats was a truth carved into every bone Mike ever broke. You do not awaken a sleeping lion and expect to walk away untouched. It began in May of 1986, when a deranged gang leader named Mitch Green decided that he was entitled to more money from Tyson's rising stardom. Green took his delusions public, promising to kill Mike in front of cameras, claiming some twisted spiritual destiny gave him ownership over the young champion. On fight night, the tension was thick enough to slice through the air. Tyson entered the ring with eyes that burned with silent fury, carrying the weight of every insult Green had hurled. And when the bell sounded, it wasn't a boxing match, it was a hunt. Tyson stalked Green like prey, cutting the ring off with cold precision, hammering him with blows that reshaped his features. Every punch was a violent rebuke of Green's arrogance, as if Tyson were sculpting a warning message into the man's flesh. When the final bell rang, Green was barely recognizable. But the madness didn't end there. 2 years later on a Harlem street, Green, still living in delusion, tried again. Instead of revenge, he received a reminder that no matter the location, no matter the circumstance, Iron Mike was always ready to publicly punish those foolish enough to provoke him. Then came Peter McNeely, an Irish firecracker with a filthy mouth and a career padded with nobodies. Fresh out of prison and hardened from years behind bars, Tyson returned to the ring chiseled like granite and radiating danger. McNeely, oblivious to reality, declared he would wrap Tyson in a cocoon of horror. But when fight night arrived, the cocoon lasted less than 10 seconds. McNeely charged at Tyson with the energy of a man trying to make the biggest mistake of his life, and Tyson greeted him with a punch that sent him crashing to the floor like a rag doll. The Irish brute rose, wobbling, unaware that he had just signed his own execution order. Tyson smelled his weakness instantly, pounced with predatory precision, and destroyed him with ruthless force. The referee and McNeely's corner had no choice but to save him from himself. In those brief moments, the world saw that prison had not softened Tyson, it had sharpened him. But the boldest challenges came from a fighter named Donovan Razor Ruddock, a dangerous knockout machine who believed he possessed the wrath and power to dethrone Tyson. Ruddock had risen up the ranks brutally, even sucker-punching opponents when he felt like it, and by 1991 he was convinced Tyson could be knocked out easily. In their first clash, Ruddock shocked everyone early, landing crisp shots that staggered Tyson and riled up the crowd. But Mike Tyson thrived in the fire. As soon as the danger rose, so did the monster. Tyson unleashed a storm, switching into berserker mode with combinations that rattled Ruddock's bones. The fight became a war of wills until Tyson finally broke Razor's resistance with a vicious counterpunch that floored him. The referee stepped in moments later, and Ruddock's dreams of conquering the division died right there at Tyson's feet. Not long before that, another man had foolishly provoked Tyson for reasons that were personal rather than professional. Larry Holmes, the former champion who once dismantled an aging Muhammad Ali, Tyson's hero, believed his experience could neutralize Mike's power. He mocked Tyson openly, dismissing him as a flash in the pan. But beneath Tyson's calm stare was a promise of retribution. In the ring, Holmes tried to poke at Tyson's defenses, but every jab was met with cold fury. When Tyson launched his attack, it was merciless. Holmes, who had stood tall against legends, found himself crumbling under Mike's relentless power. One devastating right hand turned the fight into a massacre, and Holmes was knocked down again and again until the referee stopped the carnage. That night, Tyson delivered a message not just to Holmes, but to anyone who dared use Muhammad Ali's suffering as fuel for mockery. The danger continued with Tyrell Biggs, a towering Olympic champion who believed his height and reach would cripple Tyson's effectiveness. Biggs even mocked Mike publicly, dismissing him as beneath his level. But arrogance is a fatal flaw. When the fight began, Biggs tried to dance around Tyson, jabbing and moving, convinced his strategy was working. Yet Tyson was studying him, stalking him, waiting for the cracks to show. As soon as Biggs grew comfortable, Tyson erupted. A massive left hand shattered Biggs' confidence, and from there the beating transformed into a systematic demolition. Tyson tore through Biggs with savage precision, punishing every mistake until Biggs was broken and unable to stand. One final punch sent him drifting into unconsciousness, and Tyson walked away the undisputed dominator once again. Frank Bruno came next, a heavily muscled British powerhouse who believed his strength could overpower Tyson. Bruno claimed he would knock Tyson into Don King's lap. But early in the fight, Bruno surprised many by landing solid shots, even wobbling Tyson briefly. For a moment, the giant believed his predictions were coming true. Then Tyson found his rhythm. The ring shifted. The crowd roared. And suddenly Bruno became a target rather than a threat. Tyson battered him with crushing uppercuts and hooks, overwhelming him until Bruno's massive frame collapsed under the pressure. By the time the towel was thrown in, Bruno's earlier confidence had vanished, replaced by the vacant stare of a man who had underestimated a predator. The march continued with Tony Tubbs, a seasoned fighter who called himself one of the best heavyweights alive and claimed superiority over Tyson. Tubbs had speed, skill, and size, and early in the fight he managed to keep Mike at bay. But Tyson's patience was a weapon of its own. When Tubbs left an opening, Tyson struck with a thunderous left hook that folded the man like paper. Tubbs collapsed in a heap, defeated, humiliated, and reminded that words mean nothing when fists start speaking. Even Tony Tucker, an undefeated giant known as TNT, believed he had the answer to Tyson's reign. Taller, longer, and confident, Tucker tried to bully Tyson physically and mentally. He shook his head after every punch, mocking the young champion. But Tyson ignored the theatrics. He hunted Tucker with relentless aggression, landing heavy shots that chipped away at the giant's composure. Though the fight went the distance, it was Tyson who dominated, forcing the judges to crown him the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Each of these men stepped forward with bravado, convinced they could break Iron Mike. Instead, they found themselves broken, battered, and humbled. Tyson's fists became instruments of harsh justice, punishing arrogance, delusion, and disrespect with equal force. The world watched as these reckless challengers learned the cost of threatening a man who carried the spirit of a gladiator and the wrath of a storm. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the chaos surrounding Iron Mike Tyson and the unhinged Metic installment, and who dared to provoke him, join the conversation below. Which moment shocked you the most? Which fighter's downfall felt the most deserved? And who should we explore in our next breakdown of boxing's wildest chapters? Make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next drama.